Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Before we dive into the video, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon. Let's dive in. What if the dream home you gifted your parents became a weapon against them? When I walked through the door, my mother was crying and my father was trembling. My sister's husband stood in the center of the living room I bought. My parents' anniversary gift, a $425,000 seaside mansion, pointing at my father like he was a trespasser. "This is my house," he barked, voice cracking with arrogance. "Get out." How far would you let family greed go before striking back? My father's hand tightened around the edge of the dining chair, his knuckles white, his pride hanging by a thread. My mother whispered, "Please don't." "Not again." Then I stepped in. The room went silent. He turned to me, that smug look faltering like a thief caught mid-celebration. My sister froze, eyes darting between us. She hadn't expected me to come that weekend. Neither of them had. I remember the first time I met her husband, Mark. Charming back then, the kind of man who shook your hand with both of his, as if warmth could hide hunger. He smiled too easily, complimented too quickly. But my sister Hannah glowed around him. After years of failed jobs and half-built dreams, she thought she'd found stability. I wanted to believe it, too. So I welcomed him, funded their first home, helped his startup with a quiet loan, the kind of brother who wanted peace more than credit. It took me too long to notice the pattern, his way of orbiting money. The betrayal began quietly. First, it was the property papers I'd mailed to my parents. I noticed the photocopy they showed me later had faint smudges, the signature box darker than it should have been. Then the bank manager called confused, asking why the transfer for title reassignment hadn't gone through. Title reassignment to whom? The answer came in one word. Hannah. When I confronted her, she said she didn't know. Her voice wavered, too calm, too rehearsed. But the slip came later when she mentioned the renovation plans. Mark had renovation plans for a house they didn't own. That's when I realized what had happened. Mark had forged my parents' signatures, using their trust to claim the property as his own. He'd convinced Hannah it was a family transfer to reduce taxes. She'd signed without reading. My parents, naive and loving, believed whatever made their daughter happy. By the time I traced the documents, he'd already filed for ownership. But he'd made one mistake. He used the wrong deed number, the one tied to the trust account. My account. I didn't confront him right away. That's the thing about revenge. You don't rush it. You let it simmer until timing becomes your sharpest blade. I met with my lawyer quietly. We built the case like a chess endgame. Calm, precise, no wasted moves. The house was under a living trust one created, meaning no transfer could occur without my explicit notarized consent. What he'd done wasn't just fraud. It was criminal. Still, I didn't want prison. Not yet. I wanted humiliation. So, I let him believe he'd won. I even sent flowers when they moved and congratulating them on their new home. My sister texted me, "Thank you for understanding." I replied, "Always." For months, they hosted parties, posted seaside photos, called it our family's future. I watched silently as Mark strutted around my parents' gift like a self-made man. Then came the 50th anniversary. I told my parents to play along, to let them organize it at the mansion. I promised them one thing. Trust me, just this once. The day arrived. The air was heavy with salt and deceit. Mark had invited his colleagues, his investors, people he'd been trying to impress. When I walked in, conversation died mid-sentence. I could feel every eye shift. Mark straightened his shirt. "You weren't supposed to be here," I finished for him. "I know." I placed a black folder on the marble counter. My lawyer followed, quiet as shadow. "These," I said, opening the folder, "are the original trust papers, the real ones." He blinked. "That's not forgery," I said, cutting him off. "Filed under your name. Digital signatures, falsified records, wire transfers, all traceable." The color drained from his face. My sister's hand flew to her mouth. I slid another sheet toward him unnoticed. "Effective today," I said. "You're trespassing. The police will be here shortly. Unless, of course, you'd prefer to hand over the keys quietly." He looked around at the guests, the witnesses, his wife, my mother, still clutching her handkerchief. Every lie he'd built was collapsing under the weight of truth. When the officers arrived, I didn't need to say much, just a few signatures. They escorted him out. His voice cracked as he shouted, "You'll regret this." I smiled just slightly. "I already did," I said. "That's why I'm done." After he was gone, Hannah broke down. "I didn't know," she kept repeating. I swear I didn't know. Maybe she didn't, but silence can be a kind of complicity. I left her the house key that night, a symbolic one, not the real thing. "Buy your own place," I told her. "Earn it." As for my parents, I had the mansion restored to their name fully. No trust this time. They deserved peace, not protection. When I visited the next morning, my father was on the porch watching the sunrise. He said quietly, "You didn't just save our home, you saved our dignity." I didn't reply. Some victories don't need words. I walked to the edge of the deck, let the sea wind hit my face, and watched the waves break. Violent, cleansing, unstoppable. That's the thing about betrayal. It teaches you to stop reacting and start orchestrating. I didn't destroy him out of anger. I destroyed him because he mistook kindness for weakness. And now he'll never make that mistake again.